Hello and very good morning. In this video we will discuss the administrative changes after 1858. So we will discuss why this change occurred, and second thing is that what are its repercussions. So the first of all, why changes? The first reason for the change was the revolt of 1857. The revolt of 1857 gave a jolt to the British administration, and hence they have to change their policies. So they thought that there must be some reason, there must be some problem in our administration doing, and because of that administration, the Indian got revolted to us. So they have to change. So this was the first reason why this change occurred, and because of this, they have changed the structural and administrative policies of their ruling. So this was one of the first reason. And before going ahead, we will discuss what were the the method by which they were ruling. So before, as we know, before 1857, so this is the whole crux of the modern India. Before 1857, the Britishers were ruling in India by the help of company. So from 1757 to 1857, this entire period was ruled by the company. And after 1857 to 1947, this was the whole administration of India was ruled by the crown. So this is the crux. The first thing, as I have discussed, from 1757 to 1857, it was ruled by the company by the help of charter. So here we will find that some charter act are there. But here, when the crown was ruling after 1858 or after 1857, we find that they were ruled by the act. Because the act was made by the parliament. So British crown or the British parliament were directly ruling after the 1857. But before 1857, it was ruled by the company. So they were having a charter, as we know, the Charter Act of 1833 of 1813, 1757, sorry, 1773, yes, and all these. So this was the idea. Now the first thing that we have discussed is that the administrative, the role of the revolt of 1857. Because of that, there was change in the administration. So the second reason was that the new stage of colonization started. So we will discuss what is the new stage of colonization, and second, why this new stage of colonization. So we know that after 1850, or after second half of 19th century, that is after 1850s, we find that a new colonization begins. What is new colonization? So this is the method of what this means. What is the new colonization? So we know that after 1850s, the new industrialized nation got emerged, and because of this new industrialized nation, so they have given a challenge to the British manufacturer and finances. So what was the new industrialized nation? The new industrialized nation was the USA, Europe, and Japan. When this USA, Europe, and Japan got immersed in the new industrialized nation, so they got challenges to the old power, the old power of industrialized nation, that is Britain and France. So this new industrialized nation gave challenge to the old manufacturing and finances, and hence this competition. So because of this, they were having competition, and when this competition and challenge happened together, the Britishers thought that there must be some problem, so we have to change our administration. So because of this competition and challenge, this was they have changed their administration that was done in the India. So this was the reason, second reason. And now we will look at, this was the what I have discussed now. This was the new colonization. So we will discuss why this new colonization happens. So before going ahead, we have to know everything on for everything that we have to read what and why. So we have discussed the what part, and now we will discuss why this new stage of colonization happens. So why this new stage of colonization? So we will erase this, then we will discuss. New stage of colonization, because why this was happening? This was happening because the new industrialized nation, that is we have discussed, the new industrialized nation was Germany, industrialized nation was USA, Europe, that is Germany, etc. Germany, Italy, and the third was what, Japan. These industrialized nations were emerging. These were emerging because there was a need in their economy, because we find that after 1757 USA got 1777, after that USA got emerged as a new nation. So they promoted the industrial policies. Also the Germany and Japan also promoted their industrial policy. When they promoted the industrial policies, they emerged as an industrialized nation. So when they emerged as an industrialized nation, they gave challenge to the old power. So what was the old power? The old power was Britain and Japan, France. They were the old bosses of the industrialized nation. So when they emerged the new power, they have a competition. Naturally, they have a competition among each other. So this competition, and second thing is that we know that the oxygen for any industrialized nation is what? The oxygen for any industrialized nation is the raw material and the market. So raw material and market was needed by every industrialized nation. So this was oxygen. Oxygen is what? Raw material and market. Because raw material, for any industrialized nation, they want the raw materials to be very cheap. And second thing is that they must have a market so that they can sell their product. So because of this raw material market, they have a natural competition amongst each other, and this natural competition and challenge gave impacted to the British administration that they have to change their policies. And because of this competition and because of this challenge and competition, so we will discuss what I was saying, and because of this challenge plus competition, they have changed their policies, and they want to what, consolidate. They want to consolidate their what we can say, old holding. That is, Britishers were ruling already in India. So when they got competition and challenge from the new power, they have to consolidate their holding, and that is, the holding was what, on India. So they want to consolidate their holding on India, plus they want some new area to capture. Because of this new area, they have to consolidate the old power, and they have to capture new area of India and another part of the world, that is from the new areas of Asia. They have to change their policies. So this was the second reason why this administrative changes occurred in after 1858. And since they know that they have to capture new area, so they have to make new rules and new regulations, so that they can give some hope to the power, some hope to the people of the world, or of the Asia, that they have some they have some new policies, and so that people can attract towards themselves. So this was the reason. Now the third reason is that the capital investment. This capital investment in after 1858 was done after during the time of Dalhousie, after 1848. Yes, after 1848, when Dalhousie came in India, a large number of railways expansion got occurred. The plantation workers and new investment in the form of plantation, new investment in the form of mining industries, and in the form of iron and steel industries. Iron and steel industry got promoted, and this promotion because of the capital investment, they require protection. So when they require these capital investment that were done by the Britishers in India, they require protection. So when they require protection, they have to change their policies, so that, because since old policy was not working well, so because of that old policy, they have suffered a revolt. So when they have suffered a revolt because of the old policies, they naturally have to change their policies. So these three were the compounding reason why the change occurred. So first reason was from the India point, second reason from the world point, and third reason from their perspective. So what they have done is to promote to strengthen or to consolidate their ruling in India, and also to capture new area in the market, or in the other part of the world, so that they can sell their products. Now we will discuss what are the administrative changes. So the first is was the Act of 1858. We know that after the 1857 revolt, 1857 revolt, the first act came in India was the Act of 1858. So we will quickly discuss what are some points of this act. As I know you know all these points, so just quickly revise it. So the first one was that the transfer of power occurred from the company to the crown. So this transfer of power from company to crown was the first point of this act. So it means that now the crown will work. Crown will rule in India. So naturally the crown will not come in India and rule. They have rule from London. So they will act. They will appoint some representative on behalf of that, and that representative will rule in India. So we will discuss what was the name of that representative and what was it called as in the later point of time. So second thing is that the end of dual government. So we know that before 1857 the company were ruling on the behalf of two power. The first was that the code of character. This code of character was of the company, and the board of control. This board of control that came in existence after the Charter Act of 1784. Yes, from after Charter Act of 1784, this board of control, that is new power, came, which 1784. This Charter Act, yes. This board of control was appointed by the British government, that is from the British government, and so that it can look at the administration policy of the company. And this code of character was from the of the company. This was a member of the company who looked after the trading policies, and this board of control was of the crown that would look after the administrative policies that were made by the company. So this board of control was naturally to have a check and balance to the code of characters and to the company, that how it is ruling in India. So this was that. So now the next thing is that the Governor General, who was of the India, was also called as Viceroy. So Viceroy was not a new term. This Governor General was called as a Viceroy. And we find that something which was very important. Something very important was conducting at that time. So what happened? This Viceroy, what we can say, this Viceroy was slowly reduced to the subordination in creation and execution of the policy. What does it mean? So look, it is a very important point. This Viceroy was slowly reduced to a subordinate. Means it was this Viceroy who was the representative of Government of India, or who was the head of Government of India, who was also known as Governor General as previously before this act. Its position was reduced to subordinate power in the matter of creation and execution of policies in India. It means that if you have to create any new laws, or if you want to execute the policies that was made by the British government in India, you are subordinate to the Secretary of State. So this Viceroy was reduced to Secretary of State, reduced to the subordinate level to the Secretary of State, that is SOS. So the next one is that the Secretary of State was responsible for the minutest detail. So look at the very important word. This Secretary of State was responsible for even the minutest details of the administration of India. It means that whatever the minutest thing is happening, whatever is happening in the India, it was controlled by the Secretary of State and not the Viceroy. Since Viceroy was living in India and Secretary of State was in the London, so naturally the Viceroy have to look at the minutest detail. But this was not happening. What was happening? The Secretary of State, which was living in London, he was looking at even the minutest detail, that is to what is happening in this part of country, what is happening in that part of country, why this is not happening, why this and that. Everything was controlled by the Secretary of State and not by the Viceroy. And what was the Secretary of State? Secretary of State was a cabinet member of the British Parliament, and he was, since the cabinet is also a member of the Parliament, so the Secretary of State was a member of cabinet minister, He was cabinet minister, and he was also a part of the British Parliament. So when a person is a part of British Parliament and he is controlling the details of the administration of India, so naturally this British Parliament, who was represented by the British capitalist and British financial, they will rule. They will rule in the British Parliament. So when they will control the British Parliament, since they are a member, they were elected by the Parliament. As we know how they have gone to the British Parliament. We know, we have discussed in the other video. So when they were sitting in the British Parliament, and from these one member was the Secretary of State, who was controlling the administration of India. It means that whatever the rule and regulation that was made by the Secretary of State and some members of the British Parliament, it will be naturally in their favor. So it means that everything what was every act of the Parliament which has to do in India, it was made by the Secretary of State, and it was in the interest of their welfare. Means that this capitalists will make policy in their favor. So also the Secretary of State, which will make the policy according to the interest of the British Parliament. It means that. So what does it mean? It means that the Indian opinion, that is, someone is ruling in India, it must have to represent the Indian opinion, that what is happening in India. But this was not done. This Indian opinion, which was happening, which has to represent the Indians, it was less influenced by the policies of the British. Means since the government that is representing the India, it has to look at the policy of the India. It has to look at the policy of the Indian people. But this was not happening, because Secretary of State, which was which was a member of the cabinet, he was a capitalist person, or he was represented by the capitalists. They make law or rules and regulation in the favor of their welfare and not in the favor of welfare of Indians. And because of this, this was they were having a less influence on the Indians. Now we will discuss the Act of 1861. Now we will discuss the Act of 1861. This Act of 1861 has activated the national movement. We will discuss how this act has activated the national movement and why the national movement started. We have to understand, as I have discussed, we have to understand why a thing is happening. When we understand why something is happening, we will enjoy the reading. So first, for everyone to understand, to read every concept before, we have to understand why this is happening and what is this. So we will discuss the Act of 1868. So what is the Act of 1868? This act, as you all know this, just we will quickly go through it. The first thing is that it has given birth. The Imperial Legislative Council was born, and this Imperial Legislative Council, which was born after the Act of 1861, consisted of the Viceroy and its members, and it also consists of some Indian members. So the first Indian member, the Viceroy, has a power to add arrange between 6 to 12 members that were non-official. Non-official means that they can either be the British or the Indians. So the first time the Indians got entry in the Legislative Council of the British, that is the Imperial Legislative Council of India. This is of the central level. So we can just go through it. So this was the first time that Indians got entry into the Imperial Legislative Council, and this can be done by the Viceroy or the Governor General. Both are the same, just they are interchangeably known as. Now the power, the member, that non-official member, were nominated by the Governor General or the Viceroy. Means the Viceroy can nominate any person whatsoever in the Imperial Legislative Council to make a law, to advise to make law, and it can range from 6 to 12 members, and they were non-official, and this was the composition of the Imperial Legislative Council. Now we will discuss why, what are some features of this. So the first feature was that some important measures and financial matters that pertain to the Indians cannot be discussed by these legislative council before the previous approval of the British government. Means the council that were running in India, it has to discuss the policies that were made by them, but they cannot discuss the important matter or the financial matter, and how this finance is going on what matter, on what areas this finance is this expend or is spended. They cannot discuss it before the approval of the British government or the British Parliament that were running in the London. So the second thing is, this is the first important feature. The second important feature was that these council cannot discuss the budget features. So budget is a very important part. We know budget contains the expenditure of the government of India or any government, but this budget cannot be discussed by this legislative council. So what is the meaning of this, of having such a legislative council who cannot discuss the budget? Now, third thing is that this council does not have a control on the executives. Who are the executive? The executive is the one who execute the policy, who runs the policy on the ground. But how the executive is behaving, how the executive is spending the money or spending the money cannot be discussed by these council, and these are not responsible to the legislative council. In the present time, we know that the executive is responsible to the Lok Sabha, but in all they check because of that they check the functioning of the government or the executive, but these council cannot control on the executive. Now fourth thing is that no bill passed by this council cannot become a act. It means that if they have to pass this council, if this council pass an act, this cannot become pass this bill. That bill cannot become an act unless and until it was approved by the government of British Parliament. So unless and until they approve it, they cannot make a law, or that bill cannot be passed. So in all, we can say that this Imperial Legislative Council was a revolutionary idea, but this idea or this body was an advisory body. This body seems like to be merely an advisory body and not functioning body, because it does not control on the executive, it cannot discuss the budget, the important measures cannot be discussed before approval. Fourth thing, they cannot pass a bill. So what is the meaning of that act? That council. So this council was an advisory body. So we can say that this the whole feature of the Act of 1861 was as before as alien despotism. This is a very important word that is used in NCERT. The word is alien despotism. Alien despotism means that someone a despotism means someone a Tanashah who is alien. It means that he will work on the welfare of their people. Since these British were ruling in India, but they behave like an alien, and whatever the functioning that were done by them was not responsible or was not controlled by this council. So they in all behave like an alien despotism. So we discussed what is this act, but now we will discuss how this Act of 1861 has activated the national movement, or how the Act of 1858 has activated the national movement, and why this happens. So we know that after the Act of 1858, the Secretary of State, who was responsible for the manifest details of the administration of India, he was residing in London. And second thing is that Secretary of State was responsible for the British Parliament, because he was a member of the British Parliament. So he was responsible for the British Parliament, and he was residing in London. So just look at the irony. He was responsible for the administration in India, but he was living in London. So this was the first important features. Second thing is that second feature is that the government of India and the Governor General, or the government of India and the Viceroy or Governor General, who was living in India, who know what is happening in India and what are the requirement of the people of India. Ideally, they have to make law, but what was happening? They were subordinate to the Secretary of State. Means whatever the law was made by them was not functioning. It was all responsible. It was all responsible by the Secretary of State. Means, as we discussed also, these council, this government of India cannot pass an act, or this council cannot pass an act. So it means that the Secretary of State was responsible, and he was residing in London, so he does not represent the Indian, or he does not know what the Indian wants. So now the third thing is that the Imperial Legislative Council was like a pre-modern king. So what does it mean? We know that the pre-modern king was the pre-modern king who make law, who was the judiciary, who were everything. So if you make a council, we know that if you make a council in pre-modern world, it was all done by the king, and if the king want, he can reduce everything. Means everything was controlled by the king, but everything was controlled by the king. So whatever the king want, it will be done. This Imperial Legislative Council, who was an advisory body, it seems like to be a pre-modern king parliament. Means pre-modern king council, king's council. You can write king's council. It behaved like that. So in all, we can see that. So someone is responsible in India. He is living in London. Second thing, the person who is living in India, who know everything about India, he cannot represent India, or he cannot make law on the Indian matters, or who cannot, that person cannot have advisory body. And third thing is that the council who will make law, he cannot make law. So in all, we can say that this behaves like an alien despotism, and because of this, to fulfill the interest, it behaves because it fulfills the interest of the British Parliament. And when someone is fulfilling interest of alien, so we can say that this will naturally have an impact on the Indians. So the Indians knew that since this government is not listening to us, and neither it is representative of Indian people, so they to show their cry, or to show their anger against the government, the national movement started. So we can say that the national movement started because some of the features of the Government of India Act of 1861 and the policies of the government. So all these have led to the national movement. So thank you very much.